The October budget is looming closer, and with every passing day, the anticipation and anxiety seem to grow. Politicians, analysts, and citizens alike are all on edge, trying to predict what this budget will bring and how it might impact their daily lives. While much of the focus will undoubtedly fall on Chancellor Rachel Reeves, the current spotlight has also turned toward Labour leader Keir Starmer, who is reportedly feeling the pressure more than ever. Today, we're diving into what has Starmer in a panic and exploring why this news might have caught him off guard. In an unexpected twist, a recent poll has revealed just how starkly Keir Starmer's popularity has dropped among the public. This isn't just any minor dip. We're talking about the most significant decline in approval ever recorded for a newly appointed prime minister, conducted by the respected polling group More in Common. The survey paints a troubling picture for Starmer and his party. The numbers speak volumes. His approval rating has plummeted from a relatively strong +11 in July to a shocking -38. To put this into perspective, that's a drop of nearly 50 points in just a few short months. This stark decline couldn't come at a worse time, as Chancellor Rachel Reeves prepares to unveil Labour's first budget in 14 years, an event that will bring Labour's policies and leadership under the microscope. Now, one might wonder what could have caused such a dramatic shift in public opinion in such a short span. This kind of rapid change is rare, especially for a newly appointed prime minister who typically benefits from a honeymoon period with the public. But it appears that Starmer's actions, policies, or perhaps a combination of factors, have led to a wave of discontent. For Starmer, who stepped into the role with a pledge to offer a fresh direction and renewed energy to British politics, this drop in popularity has to be a tough pill to swallow. What's particularly noteworthy here is the context of Starmer's rating relative to his predecessors. Currently, his approval rating stands even lower than that of former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, whose rating had dropped to -37. For comparison, let's look at Tony Blair, one of Labour's most successful leaders. When Blair led Labour to a historic victory back in 1997, he held an impressive approval rating of +46 within his first 3 months in office. Blair's popularity stayed positive for a substantial period. In fact, it took him 3 whole years before his approval rating dipped into negative territory. Starmer, on the other hand, has experienced this shift in a matter of weeks. Reflecting on more recent history, even Boris Johnson, who entered office amid significant controversy, saw a more favorable trend in his ratings after the initial shock of his election win. Johnson started with a -20 rating post-election in 2019, but he quickly bounced back to positive territory, reaching a rating of +3 by January and +14 by the following March. His resilience in the face of public opinion contrasts sharply with Starmer's current struggle. Luke Trial, the executive director of More in Common, has called Starmer's drop in approval unprecedented among modern prime ministers. He suggests that this could be a sign of a more volatile and reactive electorate, one that has grown increasingly critical and less patient with leaders over the past 2 decades. The situation seems to suggest that Starmer's government, despite beginning with what many saw as a solid mandate, hasn't quite managed to establish the level of public confidence seen in previous administrations. In essence, Starmer's government didn't have the buffer or honeymoon period that many new governments enjoy. Instead, they seem to have been hit hard and fast by an electorate ready to hold them accountable. This puts Labour in a precarious position, especially as they gear up for the critical October budget announcement. The pressure on Starmer is intense, and he'll need to navigate carefully to prevent further erosion of public support. Adding to Labour's concerns, additional polling conducted by More in Common this month provides more insight into how the public perceives the current administration. When asked if they felt that Keir Starmer's government represented a significant change from previous ones, a whopping 69% of respondents said it felt more like the same. This figure represents a clear sentiment among voters that, despite Starmer's promises of change, the reality of his leadership feels strikingly similar to what came before. Only a minority believe that Starmer's administration genuinely represents a fresh approach, creating an uphill battle for Labour to prove otherwise. Breaking down these perceptions even further, the polling revealed that two-thirds of respondents, about 66%, believed things were actually getting worse. That's a discouraging statistic for any government, let alone one that came into office promising reform and renewal. A mere 9% of respondents said they felt things were improving under Starmer's leadership, while 21% felt things had stayed roughly the same. The overall poll shows a close contest with Labour and the Tories tied at 27% of the vote. Meanwhile, Reform UK has managed to secure 21% and the Liberal Democrats trail at 13%. These numbers highlight a deeper issue for Labour and for Starmer personally. His decline in popularity has led some commentators to go as far as labeling him the worst prime minister of all time. This is, of course, an extreme viewpoint, but it captures the level of dissatisfaction that exists within certain segments of the electorate. It raises important questions about the trajectory of Labour under Starmer's leadership and whether he can turn things around in time to make a meaningful impact. Turning now to another controversy, Speaker of the House Lindsay Hoyle has expressed deep frustration with the Labour Party over recent leaks related to the 2024 budget. In a particularly heated address, Hoyle openly criticized Labour's Rachel Reeves, describing the situation as totally unacceptable. The crux of Hoyle's anger stems from Labour's decision to disclose important budgetary information to the press before formally presenting it to Parliament. For Hoyle, this breaches parliamentary protocol and undermines the respect MPs deserve as representatives of the public. Political commentator Christopher Hope weighed in on the issue, noting that Hoyle's reaction was predictable. Hoyle has previously held the Tory government accountable for similar breaches, emphasizing the importance of transparency and respect within the legislative process. This time, however, Hoyle seemed even more incensed, given that Labour had pledged to uphold these values. The Speaker's message was clear: MPs deserve to be informed first, as they are the elected representatives of the people. In her recent appearances, Chancellor Reeves has tried to mitigate some of the criticism by outlining her fiscal policies in greater detail. During interviews at the International Monetary Fund (IMF) meeting in Washington, D.C., Reeves confirmed a technical change in debt measurement and discussed her guiding fiscal principles. She stated that these rules would form the rock of stability at the core of her budget, framing them as essential for restoring fiscal responsibility. Her first rule mandates that day-to-day government spending must match revenues, preventing deficit spending. The second rule is aimed at reducing national debt as a share of the economy over a 5-year period, creating a roadmap for economic recovery. Reeves went on to emphasize that these rules aren't just bureaucratic guidelines, they represent her commitment to managing the nation's finances in a way that is both sustainable and forward-thinking. Given the state of public finances, however, she acknowledged that implementing these rules would require tough decisions. Spending cuts and potential increases in taxes may be necessary to balance the budget, particularly in the areas of welfare and public services. For Reeves, these fiscal rules are about creating a disciplined approach to spending, one that won't jeopardize future generations. Meanwhile, in lighter news, King Charles has found a new way to make headlines, this time with a unique business venture. Following in the footsteps of his daughter-in-law, Meghan Markle, King Charles is now selling a limited-edition whiskey crafted from barley grown on his own estate. This exclusive whiskey, called the Highgrove Royal Garden Single Malt, has been priced at a staggering £250 per bottle, making it the most expensive whiskey produced by the estate to date. Each bottle is individually numbered and comes in a beautifully crafted gift box featuring a watercolor painted by the king himself, adding a personal and artistic touch. The whiskey is the product of the Cotswolds distillery and is described as having a distinct flavor profile with notes of vanilla, orange peel, and a hint of candied ginger. This endeavor is part of a broader trend within the royal family, with members increasingly involved in ventures that engage with the public in new and interesting ways. Just a few months ago, Meghan Markle introduced her own line of products through her American Riviera Orchard lifestyle brand, sending jars of homemade strawberry jam to her friends. These jars, like the King's whiskey bottles, were individually numbered and delivered in an elegant presentation. Both initiatives reflect a changing role for the royal family, one that embraces more commercial and public-facing activities while supporting British craftsmanship and local produce. The move has sparked discussions about how the monarchy continues to adapt and modernize in an evolving world. As we close today's segment, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think of Keir Starmer's unexpected struggles? Are his low approval ratings deserved? Or do you think he's facing challenges that any new leader would encounter? And what are your thoughts on King Charles's latest venture? Does it represent a refreshing shift for the monarchy, or do you see it differently? If you haven't already, please remember to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more insights into British politics and current events. Your support helps us bring you the latest news and stories, keeping you informed and engaged with everything happening across the UK. Thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you in the next video.